if we're truly honest with ourselves, then we will acknowledge the fact that most of the people who read the Bible probably read the King James Version of the Bible. And the King James Version of the Bible is the most adulterated version, one of the most adulterated versions in existence. Most people read the King James Version of the Bible, don't even know who King James is.
Well, which begs the question: if you're reading the King James Version of the Bible, you should attempt to know who King James was.
Well,
and how do you answer the question? Who was King James? Give us a little bit about him. Give us his biography, if you will.
A short analysis of King James. King James is a man who would make Adolf Hitler look like Santa Claus. King James was a murderer. King James was known as being a rabid homosexual. He was often called Queen James. Was known as being a rabid homosexual. He was often called Queen James by some of the members in his court. And what he wanted to do was to write an official version of the Bible that validated his worldview. King James comes out of the Church of England, and the Church of England was established because the King of England didn't feel it was necessary for him to take directions and instructions from the Pope. So they broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and created their own church.
James's sexual preferences were apparent from an early age. At 13, he fell for his 37-year-old cousin, Esme Stuart, whom he later made Duke of Lennox. An observer said James was in such love with him that in the open sight of the people, often he would clasp him about the neck with his arms and kiss him. During James's reign, the British began to colonize what is now Canada and the United States. The colony of Jamestown, Virginia, was named for him. Perhaps James's most lasting contribution was the printing of the King James Bible, one of the first written in English. The translation had a lasting effect on the Protestant religion and is still very popular today. James had a passionate relationship with his wife, Anne of Denmark, by whom he fathered 8 children. He had affairs with other women as well, but that was expected of a king. It was his male favorites that caused controversy. He was flamboyantly bisexual and had several male lovers, whom he appointed to powerful court positions that were above their abilities. Favorite Robert Carr was convicted of poisoning a court rival. James pardoned him, causing outrage. The king had a secret passageway built, linking his bedroom to that of another favorite, George Villiers, whom he appointed Duke of Buckingham and Lord Admiral. Villiers was an incompetent leader, and Parliament twice attempted to impeach him, but they were blocked by the king. After James died and Villiers no longer had royal protection, he was stabbed to death by a disgruntled army officer. While the king was alive, the word in London was that Elizabeth had been a king, and now they had a queen. Those in the growing and extremely conservative Puritan sect of Protestantism did not approve. In fact, James was a hypocrite. He insisted on harsh punishments for sodomy among his people. James died at 58 after a 21-year reign. His tomb in Westminster Abbey is flanked by 2 of his lovers, George Villiers and Esme Stuart.